Figure 21 minutes.
Yeah, 20.
Are we live now?
It's going live, but I'll cut.
You're gonna cut off. You're gonna cut video off at 2 minutes after 4. Yeah.
Let's do it.
3, 2,
1.
And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in podcast land. Brendan Cunningham, the real estate doctor here at EXP. With me, Matt Paul. This is Matt Paul. He does it all. And we're talking to you. We're live. The show may not be live. We're recording this, but we're talking and we are giving you the real story because we're the real realtors. What is it? No transparency. No. Transparency is the government. No, we Last week we had a fellow here. We had a couple of people talking about home inspections.
Yes.
So we're going to continue on a little bit and talk about the process of actually presenting an offer on a property.
Yeah.
Okay. It's where the real work begins for most real estate agents. Now, most real estate, they're showing you houses and they're doing all that. That's work, believe me. But the actual work, I think, really comes when you get the offer together and you convey it, and then what happens?
Yeah, the negotiating,
The
everything
negotiating,
else that
and
comes.
then this, and then getting the documents together. And there's a lot of confusion on this. With people in the industry, there's confusion.
Yeah.
Sometimes it falls down into two categories I've observed over the years: rights and obligations. Here's a simple one to understand.
Isn't there a gray area though?
No. Sometimes there is, but most of the time, no. It's an either or. And here's a simple one where you present an offer on a property, and sometimes you hear crickets in the background, or the seller doesn't respond, and you say, "Well, what do you mean they didn't take my offer?" And you say, "Well, they went with somebody else." They say, "Well, but they have to counter offer," and they say, "No, they don't. It's a law. They have to make me make you a counter offer. If they want to make you a counter offer, they can make you an offer. That's you have a right to ask for one. You probably even have a right to expect one. But you know what? The seller doesn't have an obligation to give you one.
Nope.
Case closed. Move on. That's why it's important. You want to get those ducks in a row the first time.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Let's sort of play this one out. This is totally unrehearsed, by the way. We like to
shoot
do it
from
that
the
way.
hip.
We like to work flying without a net.
Ad lib.
Okay. I have an offer on your property. So what I do is, and it can vary a little bit from location to location, but the way it works here in Western New York, in our snowy weather, because we got snow this week.
Yeah.
Even though
We're back to winter.
We're back to winter. It's 72 degrees last week. We write up an offer, and typically what will happen is we will send it over to the listing agent.
Yes.
Okay.
Gone are the days that we're presenting in person.
We used to do them in person. We used to do them around the table. If there
Yep.
were multiple offers, you would have multiple agents sitting around. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah,
It could.
but it's hard
In
to.
fact, if you're a buyer's agent, you could insist. You could say, and I want to, as part of this conveyance, I want to do this in person.
Yes, present my client's offer so that I can, explain it to the
I can do all
best.
those things. You have a right to ask for that.
Yeah.
Watch, I'm going to do the freeze frame. You have a right to ask for that. The seller doesn't necessarily need to be obligated to let you do that. They can say, "Yeah, we're not doing that. We're doing it this way." It's their football. They set up the rules.
Yep.
And as long as no one's violating the rules like discriminating by race, creed, or color, that's the way it works. Okay, so I have an offer. I present it to you. I'm going to make the presumption you probably have other offers.
I was just going to say, do we have multiple offers?
So I would ask that question.
Yes.
Do you have multiple offers?
Yep.
I would probably want to know the answer to that question before I actually put an offer in. Why?
A good agent will want to know the best or most desirable terms of the seller. So you're going to call and try to pick my brain.
What am I going to do?
Call.
I'm going to call.
Yeah,
Oh my
not
God.
text, not
A lot of
email.
agents don't do that.
Yeah.
It's an important step. I want to find out what I need to do to get this property for my.
Yeah. So you're trying to better understand the position of my seller.
Do they have an issue with maybe they need a longer closing? That's my favorite card to play because so many times people miss that one.
Yep.
And I can probably go to the head of the class just because I can have some flexibility on closing. Because it's not always price.
No, terms are everything.
Terms, price and terms, conditions. And what's the probability that I'm actually going to close? I present an offer. Do I have other documents in addition to the contract that I've sent to you?
Yeah, all the New York State required.
He says, of course, because
Yes.
he knows how this works.
Yeah.
Okay. Like what? What would be one of the first things I'd probably put in front of the contract?
So you're going to see the property condition disclosure.
Okay, that the seller has signed and the buyer has signed prior to doing the contract.
Yep. Yeah. Yes, the seller's going to fill that out and sign it actually during the listing paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
And then we upload that into the system. So
Mhm.
you're going to go off of that. It's not necessary, the agency and the fair housing disclosure, to circulate between brokers. It is within our brokerage,
Mhm.
right? And then we also have a lead-based paint rider. There's sometimes a sale contingency rider, or if the house that the buyer is putting an offer in on, if they need to sell their house first, then you need to sell contingency rider. And then additional to
Which I
those,
always think is like the craziest transaction in the world, but that's a whole other story.
yeah.
We can do many shows just on that one thing.
They're coming back. They're coming back. I've
Oh,
seen them.
God help me.
Yep. And then other than that, you're going to have actually the first document that I put in there is a proof of funds.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's the very
I wasn't
first.
going to, I didn't want to feed you that one yet.
Nope.
Yeah, that's your boarding pass.
Yes.
You're not getting on the plane. I say that all the time, and now people are starting to use that line. No, they don't give me credit because I was the first one to say it. But you can have a ticket to get on the plane. You can have TSA certification to get on the plane. But if you don't have that boarding ticket, you ain't getting on that plane. And that's the first thing that goes right in front of my contract. This is proof of funds or a pre-approval from a reputable lender.
Yes, preferably local.
Preferably local. Good
Yep.
local real estate, everything. Good
Yep.
local real estate attorney, good local real estate agent, good local real estate
Inspector.
lender, inspector, all
Yep.
these things. You always want to stay local. It's real. There's an expression: all real estate is local.
Yep.
There's great
And there's reasons for that.
There's a great amount of truth to that.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So, wait. So, can I put an offer in on a property without a pre-approval?
No. Well, you can.
Well,
but,
you can.
yes.
But
it's not. If you actually get past the negotiating and you sign that, and then you send it to an attorney is going to say, "I'm not going to look at this until I know that they're qualified to buy it."
Yeah.
And I did have that happen before with a local wealthy businessman who said, "I don't need to do that," and the attorney said, "I don't care who you are. Anybody can spend millions of dollars a year, even if they make that. So I need to see that you have that available and liquid in order to close on this transaction." So
yeah, that's a part of their obligation to get their ducks in a row. See, a lot of times people don't understand what's going on in this scenario.
Yeah.
This is like hockey.
Mm-hmm.
I shoot the puck on my side. He's the goalie. He's got to make sure that nothing's going to get passed that's not supposed to get. And a good agent is, they catch them all. They catch them all. Here's one that a good agent will catch. He's got multiple offers, and one of them is a first-time buyer, and another one is a buyer whose house has sold, but it hasn't closed yet. Okay? Now, that's not, and we got to use this carefully, that's not the big C, the big contingency.
Yeah.
Because the house is sold, it's just not closed. It's not subject to the selling of a house, it's subject to the closing of a house.
Yep.
So if I'm an agent and I'm the hockey agent over here, he's got two offers. This one's a first-time buyer. This one's a guy that's got a house that has to close to get his mortgage.
Yes. Yep.
Which is a better offer? Just right there.
Yep.
It's like, okay, I always talk about, well, it's a case of which shoe do we have to wait to drop? With the first-time buyer, you have to hope that he has enough money down and he's got a good job and he closes on the property because it's still subject to all those things. But with this guy over here, well, you got to hope that he has a good job and he can close on the property and all that. But he's got to have a house to close. Mm-hmm. If God forbid the guy that's buying his house loses his job, or the guy that's buying his house is, what's the word I'm looking for? We have beards, you can do this, is an idiot and goes out and buys a boat the day before he closes. That house doesn't close. Oh, guess what? The dominoes fall. Not a pretty scenario. So a good agent has to be mindful of those
situations and risks.
Risks.
Yeah.
And what we do is I like to just point at the risks, and then I say, you're a big boy, a big girl. You got your big boy pants on, your big girl pants on. I said, it's your call. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Something said, well, what would you do? And I said, okay, there's more risk with this, there's less risk. But there's other things. Chances are with a first-time buyer, they may have fewer dollars on the table going into the escrow account. This guy might have more. So there's all the factors that go into it, but there's also all the paperwork that goes in.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what's crazy, I did mention this last week for sure. When I first came up to Western New York, the contract was 2 pages, front and back, so it's actually 4 pages, legal size. And now it's 13 without the riders. Once you start putting riders, you're in the 20s.
Yeah.
You're in the 20s easily. And if you have a couple of things, like you're in an agricultural district,
That's an extra one.
that's an extra.
Vacant land is an extra one.
It could be a vacant land thing. And the agricultural district is a big one because, like Orchard Park, a lot of that's in an agricultural district.
Yep.
I mean,
Same with Clarence.
Clarence, a lot of it's in an agricultural district. And why is that important to disclose that? Well, I like cows as much as the next guy, but sometimes these cities may not want to have it. Next door to my daughter's house in the city has chickens.
Yeah.
I love the chickens. I like to hear them, and every once in a while she gets eggs. But you know what? Not everyone likes chickens.
Yeah.
You know? And sometimes in the city, when you get chickens, it attracts rodents.
Yeah. Well, not everybody loves the smell of manure. So
And,
when you're out by a farmer's field
it's
and
really
they're
about
spreading
the manure. When I first moved into town, I did have a farm, and it was great, and I loved it. But I didn't like it when the neighbors would spray the manure.
Yeah.
The spray manure is
that spreads.
caca-doodle. We don't
very,
like that.
very smelly, but it can be offensive to those that aren't used to it.
So first of all, the listing agent in this case, he's got to make sure that the appropriate paperwork is there. He may need to request other paperwork, but he's also going to go through the priorities. First one is the guy qualified?
Yeah. And I might call the lender, and see, what kind of credit score do they have, or if I notice that they're really pushing the envelope with the financing, and I have seen, 97% financed properties, then, okay, how much cash is on hand?
That's a whole other world, because now we're seeing things where people will be paying over the asking price.
Yep.
They're setting the market. That's fine. But if they're going to be going for a mortgage, the property has to appraise. Unless they waive that privilege.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that a good listing agent say, listen, I know you're willing to pay $100,000 over the asking price. You may be thinking, I don't think this thing's going to appraise $100,000 over the asking price. So he has to sometimes think, you know what, this is a really good offer, but I'm going to go with this guy that's paying less because it's.
Yes, and you justify that number.
You got to be able to justify it. So there's all kinds of algorithms and logarithms that he has to go through to make sure that works. It's an entire chess match that's going on back and forth. Some sacrifice queens in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And sometimes furniture, sometimes all different
all
things.
Kinds of things. And it's the hard. I think it's the hard part of the transaction, but it's also the most fun part.
I agree. I think it's a challenge, but it's fun.
And then you got to do it in a way. How do I do this as to not piss off the other agent?
Yeah.
Because we sometimes have short fuses, and sometimes the person sounds like they're being overly anal retentive.
Yes.
When sometimes they are,
Yep.
and sometimes they're just being thorough, and you're being sloppy.
Yes.
Yep. Sometimes they're actually trying. Sometimes he's trying to make me look good. That's hard to do sometimes because I'm sometimes being a jerk.
Yeah. Yep.
But you still have to do it because we have to keep rapport. Because if we fall out of rapport, who takes it on the chin?
Yeah.
The clients.
Yep.
The clients.
Yep.
And we never want to get in the way of the transaction or the clients what they want to get done.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it's just fascinating, all this, the paperwork going back and forth. There's a little box in our contract. It's a cutoff date. You can say that everyone has to sign this contract by such and such a date, or I'm rescinding my offer. It's a very dangerous thing to put in a contract many times, because you could be taking yourself out of the contract when it's going to be a relatively protracted period of negotiations, because he's got 10 offers to feel. He's got to talk to this guy, he's got to talk to this guy, got to talk to this guy, get everyone up here. You may have said, well, and if I don't know by Friday night, I'm out of the deal. Well, they're still talking. You could have been in the deal. So you got to be real careful.
Unless your client wants it, you could be doing them a disservice.
You could be doing them a disservice.
Absolutely.
And whenever somebody asks for something, I always say, okay, we can do that. Just tell me why you want to do that.
Yep.
And if it makes sense, we can do that. If it doesn't make sense, I'll say, okay, it's on you. I'm telling you.
Or let me tell you what could happen and why.
And you do it your way. The contingent sale thing that you were sort of talking, which I just...
Yeah,
I lose
sale
my mind.
contingency is the big C.
It's the work. It's the work of the devil.
Yeah.
That's where I want to buy your house subject to the sale of my house. Okay, well, a lot of times people don't realize how that works.
And a lot of times the buyers don't even have their house on the market yet.
Okay, so what's that all about? So let me get this straight. I got 10 offers here. Cash. No house needs to close. Cash. This guy's already got the thing approved by the attorney. And then zero in the end. Not only does he have to sell a house, but it's not even on the market yet. What are you doing?
That's a really tough sell.
I mean,
That's
well,
real tough.
why would the seller want to do that? Well, the answer is they probably would.
Well,
Unless it's a doghouse.
or a buyer's market, a strong buyer's market.
Very strong buyer's market.
The house is sitting for months.
With things is years. Years.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think is so funny about that is what a lot of buyers say, well, they'll say, well, I don't need to sell my house, but I want to do it that way so I have the comfort level.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine as long as I take you through the rest of the scenario.
Yeah.
And the rest of the scenarios, you do realize that house remains on the market, even though they've accepted the offer with you. Oh, and if somebody else comes along, we call that a third party. And they want to buy the house and they don't have to sell a house.
Yeah, there's no contingencies.
Well, they can put you on notice. And if they put you on notice, would you remove your contingency? Because you said, I'd remove it at that point. Then why are you going through this scenario?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Why are we getting to this point where this other person's getting their hopes up?
If you're just going to remove it, then just remove it. Because here's the deal. If you want to buy a house subject to sell another house, chances are the seller that's willing to talk to you, he's either in a soft market, he's got a house that nobody wants that may not be mortgageable, and nobody else has stepped up to the plate. There's a reason why nobody stepped up to the plate. Yeah.
So you really need to consider all these factors when you're going with
and
contingent offer.
Being a listing agent is, in some cases, an agent will think it's easier than working with buyers. One element is easier. I don't have to chase people.
Yeah.
They have to chase me.
Yeah, and you're not driving as much for that client.
And also, in theory, when a transaction occurs, if you're the listing agent, one of these guys is going to buy it. Yep. If 10 offers on this side, there's 9 losers.
Yes.
That part's tough.
Yep.
But the part that's hard on the listing side, you got to be organized.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be a really good goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to anticipate problems before they come up.
Yep.
Somebody's trying to get they have a lock-in date to get their mortgage today. What's today? March 26th.
26th. Yep.
And you're the listing agent, and you got to the 26th, and you didn't get a mortgage. Shame on you. Yep. Shame on you, because that was one of these you're supposed to be catching.
Yeah.
Should have caught that at least a week before.
Yeah, that's it. I'd follow up on that.
And said, listen, I see. It's March 18th. There, you need to get your mortgage extended. Send me something.
Yep.
Okay?
Exactly. Yep.
You've got to stay on top of your game.
The point guard in that situation.
Yeah, a good listing agent, they just know certain things at the top of their heads, like A, how much money is in the escrow account? B, what's the mortgage date?
Commitment date.
Commitment date. Because that's a drop dead date.
Yeah, it is.
That's not an on or about date, like the closing date.
Yep. Okay.
So it's a different process, different sides, and some agents love working with buyers. They like that. I don't know, the thrill of the adventure. Yeah. There's a certain thrill to it.
Yep. Yeah.
And
I enjoy working with both, but they both have their own challenges.
They both have their own challenges, and they both have their own exhilaration. I mean, there's no bigger thrill, probably, I think, than selling a first-time buyer. I was just going to
say first-time
buyer. They are just ecstatic. They got a house. You've changed their lives forever. For generations, you've changed their lives. Yep. And if you do it the right way, they become your friends and part of your family, and they can't wait to recommend you.
Exactly.
Once, with seasoned sellers, once they sold the house, they're gone. They went to Florida. They could care less.
Yep. They're just glad it's over.
But what was that guy's name? I don't know.
First-time home buyers can energize you too. I can really be lifted up by their excitement and how appreciative they are.
And sometimes you got to scale them back. I had a buyer I was working with about a year ago. She was so desperate to buy a house, so desperate, cash too.
Wow.
And some of the things that she picked out from the show, I never would have picked these houses. They were such dogs. And I looked at one house, and it was a terrible flip. It was a bad flip. In the middle of the floor, there was a bump. I kid you not. I don't know if you can get me. The bump was this high.
Several feet?
Yeah, it was several feet. It was like one of those balls that you sit on.
Yeah.
It looked like it was one under the line.
In one spot? It didn't even go? Interesting.
And I said, she says, yeah, I think maybe, do you think they'd take X? I said, you want to buy this? I said, hey, not gonna. I got to say.
There's a tumor in the floor you might want to look at. Yeah. Yep. But it
which-
doesn't matter to us, right? If the buyer likes it,
Hey, as long as it's what you want,
Yeah.
it's what you want. But I mean, I'll try and point out some things that need to be pointed. But she would have bought 2 other houses.
Wow.
I said no, and then the house that she wanted to buy, she was over the asking price, but she wanted to go more over. And I said,
She really wanted
I
it.
said, yeah, she wanted anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And I said,
To stop giving away money. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
And,
try to get you the best deal.
what are you doing, man? Yeah, she was wild. She'd buy anything.
Yeah.
I says,
And some
there's
people.
a truck over there. You can buy that. It's moving.
We put a bet in it.
Unbelievable. Yeah. But yeah, so and the market's still fast and furious. And,
Yes,
and,
sure is. Still in the spring market minus the snow, but
yeah, I had to laugh. There was a sign that went up on my corner, and it was open Sunday. Sold sign went up Monday.
Wow.
And my wife asked, she says, "Wow, that's so fast." I said, "Yeah, it looks like it's so fast." Then she says, "Wow, they put the sign up," and I said, "Yeah." I said, "There's pros and cons to that.
Yeah.
A little fast to put that sign up because first of all, mandatory 3-day attorney approval. They may have a home inspection. That deal could fall through really easily.
Yep.
And it's the worst thing in the world for an agent is to put the sold sign up and then sheepishly go out there
And take it down.
Well, hopefully you have to do it in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Take the sign down because the neighbors. This guy's an idiot.
I won't do it until I receive the earnest money deposit.
And I won't do it until I have a mortgage commitment.
Oh wow!
Like,
So you're about
really
halfway through the deal.
Yeah. So I'm actually hurting myself that way because if you do it, when do you do it?
I do it after the receive
earnest
the
earnest money. That's probably an okay thing. Earnest money, you could probably do that. You weigh the odds there. And
I know agents that don't put it up because they always want people to call up. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Where I'm not going to probably put myself for 3 or 4 weeks, but I would rather do that than ever be forced
Having
to
to do it
down.
Yeah.
It's the super
Without the whole sign.
Yeah. There's no rule of thumb other than what are you trying to get accomplished. So those are some of the things that go on behind the curtains, and we like to sometimes share those things behind the curtains, so it gives you a better understanding, maybe a sense of appreciation of what actually happened.
Yeah. And if there's any questions out there that you have that we haven't answered, feel free to comment.
We're just scratching the
just
surface.
touching it.
What's interesting is in the old days you had to make 7 copies. Now we don't do 7 copies.
Yeah.
And the 7 copies that they did live went to different people.
Yeah.
2 attorneys, 2
Both clients, right?
2 clients,
Yep. An admin,
the 2 brokers,
Yep.
and then the bank.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
And that last copy you
and
could
they had to
barely
be
read. They're carbon copies, so the last one was very hard to read.
Right. Oh, and the thing with the Biden thing with the automatic stamp, you can't
Yeah,
do that.
no,
Okay,
no.
They had to be originals.
Yep.
And what I always thought was interesting is in Pennsylvania, legal signature had to be in.
Ink, right?
It was weird. It was black ink.
Yeah.
And I think, no, I want blue ink because I can tell the difference between blue ink and a photocopy.
Yep.
Well, now they have photocopies that are blue.
Yeah.
So, but,
Can't get away with
anyway,
it.
so that's our story for the week.
Yeah.
Tune in next time with your friends and families. What is this? Subscribe and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
And then,
more. We have some really interesting people coming in the next couple of weeks that
Yeah.
you want to tune in for. This is the
Absolutely.
real story.
Yep.
Matt Paul does it all. Brendan Cunningham, the real estate doctor, saying, "Catch you soon."
thanks for tuning in. That was great, Brendan.